It was July 3, 2025, in Ciudad Juarez, a Mexican city right on the U.S. border. Neighbors along Oasis Revolution Street have been complaining for days about a suffocating stench that crept into their homes. Some thought it was a collapsed sewage line, others blamed dead animals. But when authorities entered the Plenitude crematorium, what they found was beyond comprehension. Over 300 decomposing bodies scattered everywhere. Some were dumped on bathroom floors, others stacked on tables, loosely covered with old sheets or black plastic bags.
Precisamente en ese vehículo fue donde localizaron el primer cuerpo cuando llegó la policía luego de la llamada al 911. A un costado se encuentra este cuarto que tiene una cortina azul, que precisamente en ese cuarto de aproximadamente 15 por 7 metros es donde estaba apilada la mayoría de los cuerpos.
Worms crawled across rotting flesh. The smell was so overpowering that even seasoned investigators had to step outside to breathe. The most disturbing detail wasn't the scene itself, but the truth behind it. These weren't unidentified victims of a mass killing. They were people whose families had entrusted the crematorium to give them a dignified farewell. Many relatives already had urns at home, urns supposedly containing their loved ones' ashes. But investigators discovered those urns were filled with wood ash, dirt, garbage, even animal remains. The owner, Miguel Angel N., had been operating illegally since 2020, after being shut down. For years, he took advantage of grieving families, piling up corpses like merchandise in storage. Some of the bodies had been left there since 2019. Migrants without identification, homeless people, even patients delivered by hospitals without proper checks. Former employees confessed. The cremation oven wasn't working, there was no gas. The bodies just kept piling up. What should have been a place of eternal rest became a grotesque warehouse of death. And here is where the question arises, if in Mexico even death is turned into a business, what chance do the living have? Mexico is a country of culture, tradition, and beauty. But hidden beneath that, there are stories so disturbing they sound like nightmares made real. Tonight, you'll hear 3 true cases that shocked the nation in 2025, cases that reveal how thin the line between ordinary life and unimaginable horror can be. It was the early morning of July 3, 2025, in San Pablo, Chimalhuacán, just outside Mexico City. The grandparents of 2 little girls noticed something was wrong. The youngest, only 2 years old, wasn't responding. As they searched the house, they realized a sofa had been moved. When they lifted it, they discovered her tiny body, hidden beneath. The truth came from the most innocent voice. Her 4-year-old sister, trembling, whispered. "Daddy hurt her, then he took her away." The suspect was identified as Brian N., 27 years old, unemployed and with a history of drug use. He fled along with the girl's mother, Alma Sofia N., leaving behind a devastated family. What makes this case even more unbearable is that the grandparents had already reported domestic violence months earlier. They had even requested custody of the girls. But, as so often happens, the authorities failed to act in time. Neighbors later said they frequently heard screams and fights. The older sister often appeared with bruises, living evidence of a home filled with abuse. On July 9, 2025, the parents were finally arrested in a nationwide operation involving the National Guard. The surviving girl now lives with her grandparents, receiving psychological care. The state of Mexico tragically leads the country in cases of domestic violence and child homicides. This case became a national symbol of how institutional negligence can cost the most innocent lives. On the evening of July 18, 2025, around 6:30 p.m., Irma Hernandez Cruz, a retired schoolteacher aged 62, was driving her taxi, unit number 554, through the city of Alamo Temapache, Veracruz. Irma had dedicated decades to education, but after retiring, her pension wasn't enough to survive. So, with her family's help, she bought a taxi to keep working. That night, she never came home. 2 days later, a video surfaced online that froze Mexico in fear. In the footage, Irma is seen kneeling on the ground, tears running down her face, surrounded by at least 12 heavily armed men. Her voice shakes as she delivers their message. Fellow taxi drivers, pay your quota. Don't defy them, or you'll end up like me. 6 days later, on July 24th, her body was found about 40 kilometers from where she had been taken. The group behind it was identified as Grupo Sombra, a faction of the Gulf Cartel. Their method, forcing workers, business owners, even taxi drivers, to pay protection fees known locally as derecho de piso. Failure to comply often ends in blood. Irma's only crime was trying to earn a living. Instead, she became a symbol of the fear that silences entire communities across Mexico. A crematorium turned into a hidden graveyard. A child whose innocence was destroyed by those who should have protected her. And a teacher who was turned into a public warning by organized crime. These are not horror movies. They are real cases, documented in Mexico in 2025. And the most chilling part is not that they happened, but the thought that these are just the stories that made it to the headlines. How many others remain in the shadows?